right, so Mr. Zeke went out for a quick little potty break. He did a real nice job. Smart man. Oh, we dropped it. So we're going to try and work a little bit with maybe now some of our weight positions. So I know he's still a bit sore in the front, so he tweaked his leg a little bit. So we're going to make sure we're not doing too many reps because I don't want to agitate him, I mean his limb. So we're going to have him start off with either sit or down, whatever he feels comfortable with. I'm going to apply my weight. And then if, let's say, adding distance was really hard, like he wanted to follow me, then this is where we might have to gauge where is our starting point. So there could be some days, ready this way, Sarah, some days where your weights can be 30 feet away and he's doing amazing. Ready? Wait. There could be other days where 2 to 3 feet seems too challenging and he can't quite rock it. So we're going to go ahead. You're like, lady, I am pooped out. So while he's in a sit or a down, frankly for me, I don't care if he's sitting, if he's in a down position, if he's standing. In the beginning, just wait means hold back until I call you forward. So this is going to include that recall. For I know Mr. B, it is coming when called for him is here. For Mr. Handsome over here, Mr. Z, then it's going to be come, I believe. So you want to make sure that whatever slogan you do pick, make sure to keep it consistent. So right here, he is waiting. I might add a little bit of movement. If, let's say, adding distance was too challenging, I want to go ahead and start right in front of him and just work with time frame. If this was going really stellar, then maybe I could add some movement, but from left to right, back and forth, versus, for example, always instantly adding distance. If every time you take steps back is when you end up actually calling him, so if you were in motion and that's when you call, then typically as you're trying to add distance, your puppy is going to get up and follow you. So right here, I might go, Zeke, come. And we're going to feed for that lovely little recall. Nice job. We'll give a couple extra bonus bits. I know, such a smart boy. So if, let's say, waiting was really challenging, you could do this from, for example, some find its. I know we have mentioned this in class and some of the other programs where, let's say your babe can barely tolerate staying stationary. So you might go ahead and tell them to wait, and they're just moving and jumping and jostling. He's like, I'll get comfortable. So if, let's say, your puppy is constantly all over you or having a really hard time, you could rock some find its. So that's where you toss your food and you then call them once they've found their little morsel, you call them to you to work that recall. But if, let's say, he's going to fall asleep again during our lecture, he says, why not? So if, let's say, for example, every time you have your puppy wait, you're saying wait 15, 30 times, they're wiggling everywhere, they're maybe waiting for 1 second and they still come towards you, then I would say at that point your babe is rather confused, maybe overwhelmed or overtired. If your training sessions are not going well, like I mentioned a little earlier, you want to make sure you're evaluating where are you starting at and are you capable of going from that point further. So right here, while he's waiting, I might again remind him with a little wait because he was practically falling asleep. I might add a little bit of movement. So just like I did earlier with my stay cue, me moving shouldn't equal he moves. Though, unlike the stay, where I'd have to go back and retrieve the dog from their stay, there goes my AC, so that's a little bit weird for them sometimes. So unlike the stay where I have to go and get him, with the wait, he has to come to me and I call him towards me and we do that little recall. So Mr. Z says, he's asleep. Ready? Zeke, come. He's like, oh, geez, lady, what the heck? Okay, what a smart man, yes. So I'm not going to go ahead and do a bunch of them because he is a bit sore. So maybe what we'll do is we'll try a little bit with working some eye contact for a little bit, or maybe we could even rock a little bit with some hand targeting. So if he has done, so we'll bring him a little closer so everybody can see him really nice. Ready? So what a smart boy. So if you haven't done hand touches in a while or they were never really something that you worked on, you don't want to do a hand signal the same way you would a high five or paw. So if you have been using an open palm for a high five, you would use a closed fist or maybe fingers that the dog can then boop with his nose. So with touch, you don't want to be the one booping him. So what I mean by that is by accident, I've seen sometimes the students when they're working a hand targeting exercise, as opposed to letting the dog go to them and target their hand, they are the ones booping the dog on the nose. So you don't want to do it that way because the dog's going to be like, what the heck? But in general, you want them to be the participant heading towards you. So I know Mr. Z is almost unconscious. So I might try again with a little hand touch right there and feed him for that. So I know it's kind of hard because he decided to lay down because he's a little tired. So I'm going to again touch, yes, and feed for that. So there's many benefits of hand targeting from, for example, eventually going into cooperative care, like using it later for a chin rest kind of behavior. Chew them, sir. I know I've got Teddy hair everywhere. Teddy must be shedding something hardcore because he walks past me and I have like a whole, I could make a sweater out of the hair that's coming off of Mr. T today. He's doing a very nice job. So right here, I'm just going to feed him for those lovely eyeballs just because, again, I didn't ask for it, but any check-ins, especially if you find that your dog has very little attention span and very little towards you, every time your babe locks eyes on you and there's this little engagement, I want to make him think that there's a really good value in offering that skill. Remember that a lot of times your training could be capturing behavior throughout the day while he's just doing things that you'd like to have happen again. If it's always a training session, then your babe may think the only time to engage with you is when it's going to be reinforcing during training setups. So I know I've mentioned this a little bit in previous classes. Oh, you're going to take a break? Yeah, okay, you take a nap. So if, let's say, your only time you're training is when you're on gear with your treat pouch and in a certain bubble, like coming to class, then your babe only associates the classroom as a place for learning and the place where things happen and it's fun and it's engaging and they're figuring it out. If, though, you're not doing the same sort of physical and visual setup for your babe, they may not realize that you're still trying to do the exact same training types and sessions elsewhere. So I like to, in the beginning, keep myself and the setup the same, but with different venues for practice. If you're going from everything in class to then off leash in your yard and you have nothing on you that is resembling of class or practice, your babe is more than likely going to think it's not a time to focus or work skills. Good night, sir. So because if, let's say, we are not generalizing where sometimes you're wearing your bait bag, sometimes you're not later down the road, and sometimes you have a few snacks on you in a pocket or whatever, your babe may not realize that we could work these skills no matter what's going on for down the road. So generalization, he is so tired. Generalization is something that we do want to make sure that in the beginning we show the puppy from different skills and different capabilities in the venues where he does really well, but then take that exact same setup and then bring him to harder or more challenging bubbles. But if everything is always changing and nothing's very consistent, from the puppy's perspective, it's so many novel factors that now he couldn't possibly be working those skills, let alone that's what you're looking for. So if we keep things a little bit more consistent, then that'll be really helpful. So maybe since Mr. Z is unconscious slightly, nobody's watching, it's okay, no big deal. He sighed at me. We may find for him, maybe my videos can be very much like an audiobook to go fall asleep to. Hopefully it's not so boring. But maybe Mr. Z is feeling a bit tired and he might need a little bit extra sleep. So though, if, let's say, his leg is bugging him, sometimes sleep is a way that they're trying to escape from the discomfort. So I'm not saying that he's, keeling over and not going to make it and that nobody's taking, again, care of him. I know he's a wild man, and sometimes teenagers do end up hurting themselves because they don't know how to use their bodies mentally or physically. So we may find for Mr. Z, he's maybe especially tired because he's maybe a little bit sore. And sometimes puppies will either try to catch up on some Z's when they finally have a moment, which is perfectly okay. But it can sometimes be something they might do when they're not feeling well as well. So with his little leg being a bit sore. But I would say for Mr. Z, I was hoping to work a few more eye contact moments, but we did work some last week too and a little earlier. So I would definitely try a little bit with that hand targeting for him. He was doing a really nice job before he decided he wanted to be Sleeping Beauty. But for the hand touches, just make sure you're not using the same hand signal as if you were doing a high five or a paw. If so, change it up and keep one for one and one for the other, and that'll make it a lot easier for him to realize when you'd like to have a foot versus a nose booping. But hand touches can be very helpful for honing him in on you versus other distractions, but it can also be great for even loose leash walking or working recalls. So a lot of these really helpful little skills do build on each other, which then they can help you in other venues. But Mr. Z is also really tired, and I figured starting with him, he wouldn't be as sleepy. But I guess today he says it's time to catch up on his siesta and beauty rest. So we'll maybe give Mr. Z a little breather. He did an amazing job with his lovely stay position earlier, and he did a couple really nice little weights. But maybe we'll give him a little breather and we'll rotate through his friends. And then, of course, they'll have some more wrestle time as well throughout the day. But he says, have a great sleep. See you tomorrow. And then I guess we'll give Mr. Z a little break. Good job, sir. I know. Where am I going? I'm going to shut off the camera, you silly goose.